Director of Student Emergency Services at UT Austin. I'm also the Title IX coordinator. I represent the Dean of Students Office with the International Office Crisis Core Team, and everything else they throw at me. I believe I am being handed down all of our cultural immersion trips too. It was passed this year to one person, and she's got a huge ticket to underdo this year. So now I get to lead all of our cultural immersion trips out of the Office of the Dean of Students. Legends of China has been our primary cultural immersion trip. However, we have done an incredible India trip. And we're hoping to solidify a Himalayan trip, which I'm exceptionally excited about. So last year I went to on the Legends of China trip for the first time, and understanding that you all are going for your first time, I offered, and Dr. Arellano and I spoke, and I said, come down, share my experiences and the understanding of the program and what it was like, and answer any questions you might have.
She's done it, and Aaron and I, we haven't, so we felt like we need to have somebody who has done it. And of course, are you thinking about any in Latin America?
Well, I am.
Okay,
So, well,
no.
because UT has a facility already in Guatemala,
Oh, okay.
we may consider Guatemala first. My husband is a Guatemala citizen, although he's originally from Honduras. His dad was doing work in Guatemala, so he's a Guatemalan citizen. So I have always thrown out Central America or Latin America. Lima, Peru is getting a lot of press these days, and a lot of people are talking about Peru, so that may be also something we want to discover. And then, of course, some folks have thrown out Brazil as well. So we are looking, I'd like to pick different locations on each continent and at least explore those. Because these trips are the perfect length to get a bit of that cultural immersion without spending too much time, and then connecting with other universities across the world is really interesting.
I would love the one in Guatemala because it's beautiful, and it has a lot of the Mayans still, like before Columbus came to America. They still have their own language, and they live, and it's awesome. I would support that one.
Yeah.
Who knows? Hey, we will go to Guatemala. Who knows? Well,
Perfect.
we'll go around the table,
Yeah.
and then we can start. The information that Krista sent us today, but she's not going, that's more thorough, so we'll have more time to read it at home. And then I also copied the very last itinerary that was sent this morning, or last night. I think it was sent very late. But for the first time, we have it by date, because in the past it was itinerary without dates. So I wasn't sure exactly when. So now we do, so this is the actual itinerary. And then I also, in that, I put together some questions. But I want you all to add more to these questions. So if we can go around, or whoever feels good about asking some of these questions, that'll be great. And feel free to fill in, because I think we have. The only person who responded with question was Eric, Dr. Momber's dad. The other Dr. Momber. He sent me a couple of questions about the quality of the water.
Yes.
And if we need toilet paper when we leave. Well, you'll
Yes.
see it. So.
Perfect.
So is everybody ready so we can start now?
We trade it folders off on
Oh. It doesn't have the itinerary, the questions? Everybody has the
This one
questions?
doesn't.
Oh, okay, okay. You probably didn't put it down. Do yours have questions? And please feel free to, so different people or the same person, whoever's comfortable. Okay, do we want to close the door now? I think we will close it. Okay. And if she comes, we'll.
Start off by asking which, I know there are various trips in Legends of China, so who's going on which trips? That'll help me.
We're all going on the same trip. We're
Oh.
going on trip B.
Trip B, okay. I know that one well. That's the one I did, so I can speak best about that. So you'll stay approximately, you could probably see from your itinerary, you'll probably stay about 6 days, 5 to 6 days in Beijing. So the bulk of your time will be in Beijing on this trip. The next few days will sort of fly by for you, I promise, because you'll be at a different city and different location each time, so you'll be moving around quite a bit. So how Legends of China started, there's a organization, just to give you a little history, in California, and they partner with the Chinese government. And what they do is the Chinese government wants to expand their connections with the United States. They want to expand their educational connections. And so what they've done is establish this program where our Chinese counterparts can interact with us and educate us about their educational programs, their country, and then we too can share some of our knowledge and experiences with them. With this being somewhat of a connection with the Chinese government, that is how the cost of the program is so little compared to everything that you're receiving. Because for 10 days, getting hotel, 3 meals a day, your airfare out of LA and within the country, that's a pretty good deal for what you're getting. You will, as a side note though, notice that a lot of the stores that you visit will be government owned. The hotels you're staying in are government owned. So there's a trade-off there. And so part of that is, you're paying less for the trip, but that some of the places you're visiting, not that you won't have an opportunity to shop outside government stores, but the primary ones they're going to take you to are government owned. And I can explain a little bit of the differences of that as we go through.
And can I add, it's very typical of socialist countries.
Correct.
My country was one, and that's very typical.
Yeah, and you're going to see a very interesting dynamic of socialism and capitalism as China changes and evolves. There are some very apparent differences. I can't tell you how many Dairy Queens and KFC and McDonald's and Starbucks and Haagen-Dazs ice cream everywhere. But it was interesting, and I shared this, our guide for us in Beijing, her name was Jin, and we would ask her, sorts of questions about the government and policies and practices, and she was very honest and very direct and very open. And one day I just happened to say to her, tell me, do you work for Legends of China or do you work for a tour guide company? I was just curious because I didn't get a grasp on what her actual role was other than being our particular tour guide. And she said, I can only tell you I work for Legends of China. And that was it. And I was like, okay, so we can talk about all these other things that in the United States might be considered taboo, but I could not ask her about where she worked. So there are those moments that you will notice that certain things are appropriate or not. So I just share that with you as an experience. So in the packet, we did list for you some world fact books, some other books that might be helpful to understanding Chinese culture. Also, some websites we recommended as far as travel warnings, embassy information. So know that that's all in that packet for you. You may find it helpful to carry this packet with you while you're traveling, or at least to look through most of it before you go. I'm a fan of actually the BBC News, and so I tend to watch, especially as I was leaving about a month prior, I was watching BBC News Asia a lot just to see what was currently going on and some of the trends, and even some of the weather patterns, which I can share some stories with you that came into play while we were there last year. Again, we have some recommended readings in there. I know that, let's see, a couple folks suggested Dear Alice. They felt like that was a really interesting book to read. It was American teachers learning to live in China and kind of their perspective of China from the American side. So there are some few books in there. Also in this packet, we did some survival Mandarin or Chinese. Ni hao is hello, and so you will say ni hao all the time. I found myself when I returned to the States saying ni hao to everyone. Shay Shay, thank you, was also one that I said quite often as thanking everyone. So those were probably the two most familiar phrases. Now we were told Bu Shay Shay, which is kind of no thank you, because you will be offered to purchase stuff from vendors along the street all the time. It is okay just to walk past them without saying anything, but being a typical American, I felt like I had to say something. Know that, in saying that, know that tipping is not customary over there too, so don't feel like you need to provide tip for your waiters or waitresses or any of your staff or anything like that. That's
And we
just
already gave our tip for the hotel.
correct.
And things
Yeah,
like that, so
yeah.
the
You
tip
don't
is
tip the
already-
hotel. Everything is
Yeah.
covered, so please don't feel like you're obligated to provide a tip. our group decided, because we loved our bus driver so much in Beijing, and we spent the most time in Beijing, we ended up providing him an envelope. Everybody just donated some yuan and gave him some money, and I think he was very surprised and very touched that we did so, and that was just something we decided to do as a group, as well as for Jin, our tour guide.
Is that Jen Jung? Or
No.
Is that somebody else?
Yeah, it's somebody else, but yeah. So the water, question about the water. I would say do not drink the water in China. That's kind of the best advice. When you get to your hotel, typically they will have a complimentary bottle of water in your room. What we did was we took a rubber band and put our toothbrushes and attached them to the bottle of water, because your toothbrush is probably the last thing you think about when you're rinsing your toothbrush off and so forth and so on. So I rinsed my toothbrush with a bottle of water. I used the bottle of water to brush my teeth. It was okay for me and normal for me to drink a bottle of water all the time, but I just couldn't remember to not do it with my toothbrush. So yes, I would recommend bottles of water. You can buy some in the hotel lobbies. They typically have stores. The hotel in Beijing, if you go out the front door, hang a right, and turn another right around the corner, there's like a little gas station there, and they have a convenient little mini mart there. I bought bottles of water in there. Some folks were just craving a soda or something like that, and they would go there to buy some things a little bit cheaper than the actual hotel store. Legends of China tries to provide a cooler on the bus with some bottles of water, so you may grab one from time to time while you get on the bus.
Is it expensive, the water, or how cheap is it? Do you remember?
I don't remember it being terribly expensive. Just a few yuan. Yeah, no, it was just a couple yuan. It was not very expensive.
Are you paying for things with dollars, or do you do the exchange?
Exchange. Yeah, I would definitely exchange for yuan. I found it very easy to use a credit card in most of the places that we were going. I have a Diners Club card through the university for my travel expenses, and so I called Diners Club, said this is where I'm traveling, this is my itinerary, this is where I'm going to be each day. That way they knew if my card was being used illegally, they could track that. But I just used that card primarily, and I did take some cash with me, of course. But I found that I used my card most of the time. That way it was easier for me just to pay off my bill when I got home and not have to carry too much cash around. But it's certainly good to have cash. Yes, certainly. That last question was related to carrying cash and how much cash to carry and if to exchange money.
What's the issue with water?
The question is the issue with water. It's the sanitation system there and the population. My understanding is it's just very difficult to predict if the water is going to be clean or not. And like traveling to many other countries, there may be organisms that exist within the water system that the people of the country are used to and their stomach systems can tolerate, but ours just can't. One of the things I do recommend to a lot of travelers, and I do this myself for many other countries, is I start taking 2 Pepto-Bismol tablets the day prior to traveling, and I take 2 each day. What that does is that actually coats the lining of your stomach. So if you do eat something or you drink something that maybe you shouldn't have, it doesn't allow organisms to attach themselves to the interior of your stomach, which is what actually causes you to get sick. But there is some questionable water sources over there, and so they say in the hotels that they have filtered water at the sinks and so forth and so on, but we've always been advised not to drink the water.
What about for your
Showering. Showering is just fine. None of us I don't think anyone had any issues with the showers or the water in the shower, so I don't perceive that to be an issue. We did have a couple people, and I'll talk about health in China. We did have a couple people who did get pretty sick, and I'm not sure if it's what they ate or if they drank something, and so I can't speak to that. But when I got my immunizations, we did it through University Health Services, and University Health Services provided us with a prescription of Cipro, which is a very serious antibiotic, but it was fantastic because one of the guys on our trip who did get pretty ill stomach-wise, I kept trying to convince him, here, take my Cipro, here, take my prescription, it's already filled. And all morning long, he was just, I mean, he looked like death warmed over. He was gray and just very ill, and he kept denying it. Finally, by lunch, I said, please take this. You're going to need this. And within an hour, he was like, oh my gosh, I feel like a whole different person. Like he couldn't believe how fast it worked and how helpful it was. So if you can, if you're getting your immunizations or still speaking with your physician about traveling abroad, I would recommend just carrying the prescription, get filled before you leave, and carry Cipro with you.
So we were told by Legends of China we did not need immunizations.
So I did not opt, and I'll go through some of the immunizations, I did not opt for a lot of the recommended China immunizations because you're not traveling to rural places. I volunteer in a whole bunch of different worlds, so I actually already have hepatitis A and B. I think whenever you're traveling to other countries, I think that hepatitis A and B is probably a wise one to have anyway. And I had to get my routine, MMR, DPT, and so forth. Had to get that whole series kind of booster done. However, I did not opt for the rabies. I did not opt for encephalitis, and I think there were a couple other ones that are on. If you look at the CDC's website and what they recommend immunization-wise, I did not opt for half of those. So it really is a personal preference, honestly. Some people go because they're not big on immunizations, and so they say, I'm going to choose not to have these. Again, I went with the hepatitis A/B, as well as just making sure all my routine shots were up to date. So other health issues related to China.
Did you say that you were given a prescription?
I was,
Cipro.
Cipro, C-I-P-R-O, I think, Cipro.
Maybe we can get some from the health center here.
Yes. I would check with them to see if they can give you all, each a prescription for it. Again, if you get a stomach bug there, this will take care of it almost instantly for you, and you will feel like a different person. So I highly recommend that. I did not have any digestive issues while I was traveling in China. Again, I did start off by taking the 2 Pepto-Bismol day before I left, actually when I started from LA, and then 2 each day, probably until about 3 or 4 days into the trip. And then I just didn't feel like I needed it anymore, and I was fine and didn't experience anything negative. However, I did feel some respiratory issues due to the pollution in China. So I do want to mention that if you are susceptible to sinus infections or bronchitis or something like that, there is a lot of pollution, especially in Beijing and Shanghai.
Allergies maybe, medication?
Yeah, I would recommend any regular medication that you tend to take here, plan on bringing that with you. And then I would always bring just a basic kind of first aid, cold medicine, anti-diarrhea, those sort of medications, just to make sure you're covered. There are obviously some pharmacies in China. You might be able to find a few things that are similar to the United States, and then some things not. For my respiratory issue, my roommate actually had some cold medicine that she brought along, and that was a saving grace for me. But then I also went into the Chinese pharmacy, and I found, and I can show you, these little cough lozenges, which are absolutely my favorite thing. And up in Austin, we actually have a market and a Chinese pharmacy up there, and I've been able to find them in Austin. So those were by far the best thing ever. And now when I get sick, I actually go to the Chinese pharmacy in Austin to get these. If you look up, it says golden lozenges or golden cough drops. You can Google them. Those to me were probably the best things ever.
Maybe for the people who have allergies, they should start taking the allergy medication 2 days before they start leaving, because I know that when somebody smokes, my allergies come back. So
Absolutely.
Can we use masks? Is
Absolutely.
Mask needed?
It's not, I mean, some people you will find as you're walking through the city, you will find that people are wearing masks. It just depends on how susceptible your respiratory system is. It doesn't hurt to take one with you. The time period of which we were in Beijing, the pollution was exceptionally bad that time period. Right after we left Beijing, they had a huge rainstorm, and that washed everything away. So everyone else on Legends of China who came after us, because they break up the groups a little bit travel-wise, everybody else was like, what are you talking about? Beijing didn't have any pollution. And we were saying the same thing about Shanghai, because when we got to Shanghai, they had just had a rainstorm. So Shanghai was beautiful to me, but I hear Shanghai can be bad as well. So it depends on the weather as well. Yeah,
This may be
question.
more for Dr. Adiano and Aaron. Are y'all going to be able to take medicine to give to student travelers, or?
My preference is no,
Yeah.
because that's not okay.
Right.
If somebody, but, you know, like, I may buy some of those lozenges, maybe,
Mhm.
something like that, but personal medicine, I will strongly encourage people to do their own medicine. The only thing I may have to share will be like Band-Aids,
Mhm.
maybe some Tylenol, but any other allergy medication or anything, I would prefer people buy their own.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're not a medical doctor.
Would the same go for the staff that are
Right.
attending,
That's a
to
good
not,
one, that's a
not
good
share
one.
their own?
Absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
on a personal level, it's different than if we do it as a person who is responsible for the trip.
Right.
If you do it as a personal level, sometimes people can do that, and it's not the same.
Yeah.
As that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
I
trying-
wouldn't typically have given my script out, but this guy looked like he was dying. And he was from a California system school, so I was like, have at it. You know, your wife and your kid are here. If you want to take my prescription, go for it. And literally within an hour or so, it made a huge difference, which is why I recommend everybody get a prescription for it. I mean, I think I paid $5 with my copay for the actual prescription. So it was completely worth it, even just to see him have a change like that.
We
Will they
may
need to
do
take
that.
the rest of the cycle of the pills though, so they don't? But I'm sure
Yes.
that the
Ye-
person that distributes.
Right,
will.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So to talk about the vaccines, I have the list here. The MMR DPT, that's your routine booster. I think that's measles, mumps, rubella, diphtheria, pertussis, and something else. You're testing my medical knowledge here. And then hepatitis A, hepatitis B. The ones I did not opt for was I did not take the typhoid, I did not go with polio, Japanese encephalitis, or rabies. They were all primarily region dependent. And so if you're going out into the very rural regions of China, that's when those are highly recommended. But you're in major cities, so that is just not, that was not a concern of mine, and I don't feel like that was a concern for anyone traveling. Some things to pack and not to forget. Your passport. And of course, if you've traveled abroad, you know to make multiple copies, leave a copy here, make a photocopy to keep in your suitcase. They will collect your passports at every hotel and hold on to those overnight. So those of you who are very passport protective, which I understand why, understand that they will keep and hold on to your passport, okay?
Is there a reason? I mean,
It's
why
it's
would-
part of their policy, and they collect it at the hotel, and it's part of the government piece of it.
Socially conscious.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
'Cause I was told never to let
Correct.
anyone at a hotel or
Well, it's
hospital or
even
anything
when we did,
live here.
when I took your all's passports to do your visas,
yeah,
like, they wanted to know certain things, our flight, even though we didn't have our flight itinerary, they wanted to know, like, all the times, like, down to the minute, when are you arriving at the hotel, when are you leaving the hotel, when will you be on the bus, when will you be on this, when will you be on that. So-
they are very specific about what they want to know and your travel itinerary. Some personal experiences. One of the ladies on our trip we all came down for breakfast every morning, and she brought her luggage down because we were switching hotels that night. She left her cell phone up in her room to charge, and she was going to go back to retrieve it after breakfast. She had not officially checked out. When you check out of their hotels, you hand in your key card in the morning, so forth and so on. Our tour guide came up to her and said, just so you know, the hotel said you forgot your cell phone in the room. And she was like, I didn't check out yet. And so I don't know if they had a way of knowing that her phone was still charging the room. I don't know if the maid went out. But again, it's a socialist country. There were just little nuances like that where they know every single kind of step, move. Yeah.
When you travel to those countries, you have to have your passport. So if they hold your passport, it's a way you cannot sneak out in the evening.
Correct.
And look what areas that they don't want you to look at. So that's how they hold your passport. Because if you are outside without passport, you'll be arrested.
Now, we did, there was a Walmart down the street from our hotel in, what was it?
Chinese Walmart.
Yeah, Suzhou or Hangzhou. And I literally, I wanted to see what, you know, what's the difference, you know, I wanted to see what was the difference between,
There's a difference.
and that's exactly what it was. We wanted to see what was the difference between what Walmart looks like here in the United States and what Walmart looks like over there. And so we went into the market, and it was very interesting. Now, I was the only tall white woman, and literally every person stopped at every register and watched me check out and watched what I was buying and how much I bought. And it was very interesting, but it was a fun little outside excursion just down the street from one of our hotels. Your plane tickets, of course, they will send to you electronically. Make sure, again, I made double copies of everything. I kept a copy at home. Actually, because I coordinated the trip for UT, I made sure UT had a copy of everybody's passports and a copy of everybody's visas. So UT had a copy, my husband had a copy. He did not travel with me, and then I had a copy with me. So I had multiple copies everywhere. So if I need to reach someone, they had a copy of what I needed. Again, making sure that you call your credit card, ATM, whatever means of monetary travel you're traveling with, make sure that they know you're traveling and what your itinerary is. A lot of times they will stop your card from being used because they will see it as fraud. And so you'd hate to be traveling and then go, oh my gosh, I can't use my card anymore. And it is difficult to make cards out or calls out depending on what carrier you have. So just know that. I was going to say something about the, okay, traveler's checks. We had some people take traveler's checks. Those you can exchange. In Beijing, our hotel had an exchange area, so you could do currency exchange as well as traveler checks exchange for your yuan. So you could take care of that right there in the hotel. I found that very easy, and I found the exchange rate was okay. So I didn't find that to be an issue. International fees and taxes on credit cards. So a lot of times credit card companies will charge you an international fee if you use it in a different country. A lot of the stores, again, that you're taken to are government-owned stores. They will wipe out those charges. They will absorb those charges for you. So a little bit of a benefit of shopping in some of the government stores is I knew when I was going to the pearl shop that I was buying pearls. That was on my list. My sister sent me with money to buy her pearls. And so I didn't have to pay tax. I could still barter a little bit on the price, but I also didn't have to pay the international fee on my credit cards. So know that in the government shops that there are some of those benefits as well.
You can bargain?
You can still bargain there, yes. Not as great as you probably can on the street, but I also know that you're getting the real thing in the government stores. You're not getting some random something on the side of the street. And we had some students who attempted to bargain on the street, and one student who got completely ripped off. He tried to buy an iPhone over there, and the guy did the old switcheroo at the very end, and ended up giving him an iPhone that was completely defunct. Not what I would ever recommend, and he was not a UT student. He was from California system, but he actually chased the guy down on the street and got his original iPhone back, but or his money back. But again, I believe in shopping in the shops where I trust who I'm dealing with.
Are the prices kind of high, low?
As far as the prices in the government shops, I found them fairly reasonable. I was able to get myself a strand of pearls and my sister for under $200. They were a little less than $100 a piece, and they were really nice strands. Like I got black pearls. My sister and I each wanted black, like the really dark color pearls, so we were able to get those. So again, I knew I was going in spending a little bit more money on those, but you know, they're fairly reasonable. And then of course I bought some tea sets and different things like that in some of the markets, and I paid less than I think one place I paid less than 20 yuan for it, which is incredibly cheap, and was able to ship it off in this really nice box to my grandmother and everything. So,
What is that equivalent to in dollars?
oh, anybody know what the currency exchange is right now? Hold on, I'll tell you.
6.20 something,
To $1?
6.5, yeah.
So that's like $3 something?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there are definitely some bargains out there. You can bargain for T-shirts and so forth. There are these folks will come up to the bus and they have all these chopsticks that the tops are all decorated, and they sell them in a package, and you can spend a couple bucks or a couple yuan and get a package of 10. They're great to bring back to the office. Everybody gets a fun little set of chopsticks or something like that. So.
Dibs.
That's right. That's right.
We can share. We can find other things that are
So as far as what to pack for clothing, I recommend some light, like this shirt would be perfect, something that's pretty light. I would not recommend this skirt because white in China, sorry, it's going to be pretty dirty. And that's part of the pollution and everything too. Khaki shorts, capri pants, all those sort of things are absolutely appropriate. When you go to visit the university, I would wear something nice. So for ladies, maybe a skirt. I was told last year by our tour guide that it was not favorable to wear open-toe shoes for that event in particular. So I had a pair of sandals, and that's all I had, and they were nice sandals. So it wasn't horrible, but just culturally, she had said it would be better even if you wear a pair of flat, closed-toed shoes to that event at the university. That was the only time I really felt like I needed to dress up. The rest of the time, we were mostly in shorts or capri pants, fairly casual.
And when you mean dress up, how?
For the university, I did wear a skirt and just a top like this.
Okay.
Um,
Did you go to the opera?
I did not go to the opera. The only evening excursion I chose was the Shanghai riverboat on the Bund, and I would highly recommend that. That was just beautiful. The lights in Shanghai are just amazing, aren't they?
Did everyone go to the opera, and how do they dress for that?
We had people dressed very casually to the opera. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah.
Like casual, like what do you mean?
Capri pants, I think that's absolutely fine. Yeah, khakis. It is not hot there, but it is very humid. So it's probably going to be in the 80s, but the humidity is just unbelievable. I'm from the East Coast originally. I felt like I was back home for a little while. And the ironic thing was I got back to Austin after the trip, and it was probably 100 here, but there was like zero humidity, and I was actually walking outside and getting chills because I just didn't feel like it was hot here because I was so used to the humidity in China. I did buy one of the fans in China. Highly recommend one of those as you're walking along. The hand fans are wonderful. It is absolutely appropriate, and I would recommend bringing an umbrella to shade you as well. Those are very helpful. There's a reason why you tend to see a lot of those in China.
And do they let you go into the temples and that sort of thing with shorts and with
Yes.
sleeveless? They do?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Absolutely. Most people, what everyone is wearing today, I mean, a short sleeve top, tank top, those sort of things, we saw lots of folks dressed that way. I wouldn't say that's different.
How about in the hotel? Is there workout time to?
Oh, great question. Yes. So I remember at least in Beijing, because we were there long enough to actually access it and use it, they have a swimming pool, and they did have a workout room. The swimming pools in China require a swimming cap for everyone, men and women. So just know that you do need a.
Have them available?
They do have them available to purchase, but if you go to Academy, you can probably buy some pretty inexpensive ones as well. I swim all the time regularly, and so I just naturally brought my goggles and my swim cap. I was the only person on the trip that had them, and everybody was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. But that was just my natural tendency. So the first day, and I'll get into the itinerary a little bit just to hit on this. The first day we landed, so you're flying overnight. Please do everything in your best power to sleep on the plane going over. Take Benadryl, take whatever you need to do. Yeah, Ambien, whatever you need. Fall asleep on the plane on the way over. Get some rest. As soon as they pick you up so you'll get off the plane, you'll go through customs, and there will be someone with a Legends of China sign, and it will say group. You guys are trip B, so B1, B2, whatever group you are. They will have a sign, you will meet your tour guide, and as soon as you get your luggage, you will be shuttled off to the bus. The bus will take you to a park. First thing in the morning, you'll walk around the park a little bit, and then you will have a traditional Chinese breakfast at a restaurant, and then from there, they'll take you to the hotel. Last year, what they did for us was that very first day, they also let us rest for a little bit at the hotel, but they did encourage us not to nap, even though that's you're going to be what you want to do, which is why I went swimming that first day. So I found it was something relaxing, but also something that kept me awake. In the hotel in Beijing, they also have massages available, and for the amount of walking you're going to do, the foot massage is wonderful. I highly recommend it, and wish I hadn't waited till the last night to take advantage of that. I probably should have done it every night.
How much are they?
What was it? I want to say it was like 30 yuan maybe, or 40 yuan. It was pretty inexpensive.
$5.
Yeah, I mean, it was very inexpensive and well worth it. I always say be cautious of the massage parlors outside the hotel. I can't promise what type of extra benefits you might get from that, but I would stay with the massages inside the hotel.
I was about to say, I don't want to get arrested in China.
What is the tipping custom?
You do not tip in
You don't
China.
tip? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So again, comfortable walking shoes. I run in those 5-finger shoes. I wore my 5-finger shoes, and although I got a lot of looks, they were also very comfortable in China. But we had a lot of people that just wore tennis shoes or running shoes or whatever have you.
So there were places to run.
I don't know that. I mean, I exercised and worked out inside. Yeah. The streets are pretty busy. I mean, I don't know that I would have hesitated to run in Beijing. You were doing so much walking all day long. There is no reason that I felt like I needed to run. I mean, by the end of the day, I was done. There was no workout needed. So it was pretty much I wanted to go back to my room and crash in the evening.
And if there's pollution, we don't want to run. so much.
Right.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it cooler in the evening? You know, is it getting
It's
cooler?
still humid. It's still humid. Yeah.
Now, the
Because I've
restaurant
been
does
watching
have-
the
Texas State swim caps. We should bring a case of them and sell them.
That's it.
temperatures now are basically what we have.
Yeah.
I've been watching,
Watching the weather.
How much
Yes.
clothing should we take?
How much clothing should you take? I really felt like I probably wore 2 to 3 of the same pair of either khaki shorts or capri pants the whole time, and just changed out my tops. I felt like I packed too much clothing. I thought I was going to need more dressy clothing, more skirts or dresses or so forth. Again, I needed one nice outfit for the event at the university, and after that, I kept with the same clothing. So I tend to be a light traveler, but I even felt like I went a little bit overboard just because I wasn't sure of customary what it was to dress and so forth. So I would expect to wear probably the same stuff. They do have some lines in the bathrooms, so if you do need to rinse something out and dry it, mind you, it is humid over there, so it takes some time to dry. So if you're in Beijing, you may have enough days for it to dry and take care of things.
So no laundromat facility.
No, I think through the hotel, you might be able to use some laundry service. So that's certainly an option, but I did not see any laundromats nearby. A lot of people you will see as you drive by the apartment complexes and the buildings in the residential areas, they just wash things by hand or by machine in their homes, and then they dry a lot of stuff on the lines outside their balconies. So
But the hotel, usually hotels have
a laundry facility.
a service.
I think most of the
I think
hotels
so,
we're
yeah,
staying at
yeah.
laundry service.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's more expensive, but I'm sure. Now, in terms of there is air conditioning though, is that right?
There is air conditioning in the hotels, absolutely. I felt like in Beijing it was a bit more humid and it didn't get as cool as I like. All the other hotels were plenty cool and very temperate for us.
Are the buses?
Buses are air conditioned. And us Americans were definitely begging them to keep them cooler and cooler, whereas our tour guide was just laughing at us. She was like, oh my gosh, it's not that hot. You all, she just couldn't understand how we were reacting to how warm it was. Again, it's being used to it.
Just to clarify, you did say shorts are okay?
Yes, shorts are okay. Yeah,
When I was in Korea, I mean, it was, you do not wear shorts, that's why.
yeah, yeah. It's,
Yeah, I was surprised too, because I thought that especially Beijing, I heard they're more traditional. Shanghai is supposed to be real cosmopolitan.
yeah, everybody on our group wore, I wouldn't wear shorts, but, khaki shorts, absolutely okay, yeah. And it's warm. I wear a lot of capri pants too and found those really comfortable.
We're going to be at the Haijian Hotel, is that where you were?
Let me see.
We don't have the breakfast now. We'll
Okay.
have free time, but we'll have the lunch. But we're at that hotel. Is that the hotel that is far away from the city?
This is the Beijing. I'd have to look at my itinerary and see if this is the same hotel. I can tell you in just a moment. I believe from talking to the previous groups that we've always stayed in the same hotels. So I'll double check
Yeah,
on
it's
that.
not- this one is pretty close to the city,
Yeah,
from what I understand.
Because I remember Latoya, Dr. Hill told me that there's one that is far away, and that was the only thing.
huh.
And they're
Let's see.
supposed to be 4- and 5-star hotels. So.
Is
Yes.
it within walking distance to lots of things, or do you have to use transportation, or?
I'm going to be honest with you as far as walking distance, everything. There's certainly some time to do that. They keep you on a schedule. You're pretty busy all day long. There is some free time, but I did not find that we had a lot of free time. But in Beijing, certainly there's a market across the street, and we know folks that took taxis and went to different places and so forth. And as long as you work with the concierge at the front desk, they'll call a taxi for you. And just what I recommend doing is having the business card of your hotel with you at all times, and that way if you need to return to your hotel, you can show them where you are. They're not going to know the name of the hotel, but they'll know the street. So it's, again, very densely populated.
When you say shorts, you talking walking shorts, or are you talking athletic shorts?
Walking shorts, yeah.
You're asking for Robbie, I know.
Well, yeah, for both of them, actually.
I'm going to look up.
Now, you said swimming pools. Are they kind of safe with the water? Yeah, they should be. because
Yes,
of the-
they're actually their swimming pools are safe. They require that everyone shower before they get into the swimming pool. Everyone wears shower shoes. They're pretty big on how safe and clean they try and keep their pools. The pools are indoor, and they
Heated?
they are warm. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They're not like super warm, but they're not cool either.
Right.
Um,
Swallow a lot of water.
Hmm?
Just don't swallow a lot of water.
If it's a swimming pool, it should be chlorinated.
Yeah, chlorine kills
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
So it should be
Okay.
good.
Good. So now they use the salt, whatever.
Yes,
That
the
should-
saline pools, yeah.
That should kill it too, because salt is also, yeah.
So I would recommend, if you have a hat, it's okay. I know a lot of people wear those, the sun hats or so forth. Again, the umbrellas, the fans. It is humid.
Should be cowboy hats.
Toiletries are also, what I did was I went to kind of the travel section of the drugstore, whatever, and they sell like Cottonelle baby wipes, but the small packages. I like the wipes better than the actual hand sanitizer because I could use the wipes in the bathroom if they didn't have toilet paper, which can sometimes be an issue. So as far as the toilet paper goes, they do not use toilet paper the way we typically do here. And so sometimes there isn't toilet paper, or sometimes there is, but it looks like a napkin dispenser and you just get a couple squares. Same thing with napkins in general on the tables. We actually had to request to have napkins at our table. So you'd find a lot of us, if they did give us a stack of napkins, everybody was putting some in their pockets for toilet paper for later on. So those are the type of things we did. Packages of tissues are always helpful to carry along for the bathrooms as well. Again, when you're in your room in the hotel, you're gonna have Western toilets, you're gonna have toilet paper, you're gonna have all the amenities. But when you're out and about, if you do need to use the facilities, you do not have to pay for the toilets. No, at least all the ones that we visited, we did not have to pay for any toilets.
So you recommend we take maybe some toilet paper with us if we want to?
Yes.
As we travel? Because somebody
Yeah.
asked me that
Yeah, and actually, if you go to Academy in the camping section, they sell small rolls of toilet paper for campers. They don't have the actual roll in the middle of it, so that it's compressed. So you may be able to buy that. But again, the individual packages of tissues or so forth, those are sufficient as well.
in Sam's, they sell the boxes of the hand wipes that
Yes.
are sanitizers, so very cheap, like $7 a box.
Yeah, and baby wipes, all those sort of things. You know, baby wipes, you can buy a box of baby wipes and then put them in Ziplocs and they'll still stay moist. Those sort of things are economical and smart to carry along. I actually just enjoyed having some baby wipes just throughout the day, just to, you know, if I'm sweating, just to cool myself off and so forth. So those were some of the things. They do.
July, I heard it rains a lot.
So when we landed in Beijing, the question about rain and weather and so forth, it was an interesting weather pattern actually that we experienced last year. They had a 60-year flood. They had not seen that amount of rain, but it was the day we left Beijing and flew to Shanghai. So we were absolutely fine. We experienced no rain. It was lovely. Unfortunately, we did hear that one of the buses from Legends of China actually got stuck on the highway for a number of hours in a flooded street because they happened to still be in Beijing when we had already left. When we landed in Shanghai, the temperature was great, weather was nice, it was sunny and clear because the system had just blown through there as well. We took a bus to Suzhou, spent a day there, spent the night there, and then took the bus back to Hangzhou, and they call that their West Lake area, and they have a huge lake, and you get to go on this boat out in the water, and you get to see all the pagodas, and it's just a beautiful area. They have some amazing gardens and everything, and it was a lovely day there. And then we went to Shanghai, and then the day we left Shanghai, there was a typhoon blowing into Hong Kong. And so the winds were blowing in, and so it was very windy, but we left Shanghai, landed in Beijing, and then took off for LA. So we kept missing all the storm systems. We were just fortunate in that sense, but they do get some rain there,
You
certainly.
went in July.
I did, yes.
Because I read the rainiest months are July and I believe June, July, and August.
Yeah, and again, they had a remarkable year last year, so hopefully you won't have that experience, you know. But again, our trip did not see any rain for the most part. There were a couple sprinkles here and there, but it was a very nice travel trip overall. Of course, I landed in LAX and waited for my flight back to Austin. I had like a 12-hour layover in LAX. And I'm sitting at LAX at 4 o'clock in the morning, and the whole airport starts shaking. And I was like, you're kidding me, right? Like, I left a 60-year flood, the tail end of a typhoon, and now I'm in an earthquake in LA. And sure enough, they had what no one would register in LA by their terms, earthquake. But for this Jersey girl who does not do earthquakes, it was an earthquake in my mind. So That's LA. They do recommend carrying some mosquito or insect repellent with DEET. I actually did not find that I had any issues with the insects. But again, if it rains, you're probably going to see some insects. If you're not a big fan of DEET, I know that Whole Foods does sell some really good insect repellents that do not contain DEET. But again, just be mindful of that. Again, we talked a lot about medications and just some personal stuff. One of the things on here that I didn't carry, but probably would have been nice because of the pollution, is Visine, something to clear out your eyes. And then even, I wish I had packed, I always carry that saline rinse or like a neti pot. I wish I had brought that with me, like a nasal rinse. Just because you're breathing in all the pollution every day, it would have been nice to do a sinus rinse in the evening. We talked about towelettes and hand sanitizers. We always recommend 1 to 2 small gifts to exchange with the Chinese students. So in addition to your bus driver and your tour guide, you'll have a Chinese student from the local university that will travel with you most of the part. Our student was absolutely phenomenal. We could ask her anything. She engaged with us. She shared all sorts of stories. And so we brought her some stuff from the University of Texas. She really appreciated it. I just ask y'all, and I reminded my group of this, make sure whatever you take is not made in China. So go into the bookstore and see how many things from your university are made in China, and then try and find something. What we did take with us were some local, like, Austin-made stuff. So we took some handmade soaps, and we did more Austin-themed things, and so we took some local-made product.
So how many of those for our student, and then for the bus drivers, the 2?
Yeah, we did for our main bus driver in Beijing, because you're with your Beijing tour guide and bus driver the longest. So we tended to actually give gifts to those 2 individuals, plus our student from Beijing. And then in the other cities, you're just there 1 day each. So I think we did some envelopes together and gave a couple yuan for each of those. But I did bring gifts for.
We will be, the 2 of us will be meeting other.
Okay, so you'll go to the special dinner at the university, is that correct? So I did that dinner as well, and that dinner I did take a gift from Dr. Lilly to the Dean of Students there, and the Student Affairs Vice President for Student Affairs was also there. So we did a couple nicer gifts. Val went out and bought some really nice, whatever, she put together nice little packages of we did like Austin stationery and some Austin related things and so forth. So if there are some stationery shops here in San Marcos, maybe
San Marcos, maybe we're going to Paper Bear.
Yeah, something like that where it's locally made, unique, that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Salsas.
Yeah.
Or Texas.
Yeah, something Texas.
Something represent Texas, because
Yes.
that will be new to them.
Absolutely.
But everything in Paper Bear are made in China.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
It's not.
Well, there's some jewelry.
Oh, yeah.
Are you saying for each individual, or?
I have the same question.
Well, go ahead.
For each,
Just from everybody?
no,
Or
just
individual?
as a whole from the university. I think that's
I think
okay.
we will prepare the gifts for the tour guide and the bus driver, so from all the university, unless you want to do it, because I don't want people to feel like I had to get something ready.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to do differently, let me know. Oh, I'm sorry, that's mine. Let me see.
Is that,
Well, yeah, I would just let the university focus on a kind of gift for the group, and then if they do tips as if your group, your bus group decides to do a tip, then maybe y'all can
I think it would
contribute to
probably
that.
be cool since we've got some campus rec people going, and we've got some Dean of students. It might be cool if we did, like, if you guys had some campus rec stuff that we could put in and do stuff like that.
Absolutely, and that's what we did too. Was we took some T-shirts. And so we gave the T-shirts to our students too, to give to the Chinese students, and I think the students really appreciated that. Like, that was really neat to get a T-shirt from a different university and something like that.
And when you say to the students, is that the guide?
Yes, there's a student guide on the trip with you, and so her name was Mandy, and she was just absolutely phenomenal. And so our students, they decided, we only had 2 students going with us last year, and they decided together, one of them was getting a keychain, and one of them was going to give her a t-shirt, and so that's what they did from University of Texas, basically.
So do you wanna, okay, go ahead.
Are we talking about small, medium?
Yeah, small,
I would do small, medium, yes, very much so.
I was looking at Albert.
Well,
Albert's quite taller than.
so do you want us to do something together, or, you know, to put for the?
I would recommend that, yeah.
I would love for Aaron to put something together. And let me know what I need.
Hey, I'll be more than happy to put it together. I'll let you know what I need to do.
So we'll prepare 4 just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2
Yeah.
in Beijing, and if we have decided the other
Yeah.
2 also, then we can
And
do
then
that.
I guess we'll decide what we want to do.
What you want to do for the dean or the vice
Yeah, for
president.
that one, we will
Yeah.
think something different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They
Um,
offer us one person that can go to that, typically is
Right,
the
the-
administrator.
right.
But I asked if I could take Aaron, since he has been helping me with
Yeah.
coordinating. Did they say yes already?
I don't think they'll have a problem with
Oh,
that.
okay.
There were some universities that had
Yeah,
2
well,
coordinators.
Both of us, I think both of us are,
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I took my camera with me. I used to shoot with a DSLR, so I had a really nice camera, but I got tired of backpacking because I do a lot of backpacking with something that large. And so they now make what they call a hybrid camera. That's a mirrorless camera. So it looks like a point and shoot body-wise, but it actually has an adaptable lens. That was the best thing I could have ever invested in for that trip, because I took over 800 photos. I was able to change from black and white to color, and with some of the pollution, I will tell you that black and white shoots amazing in China. I have some really cool black and white photos from there, so just a hint if your camera can change that. Batteries for your camera, if you do not have rechargeable, double check to see, either pack those, but you should be able to find, AA or AAA batteries over there. Mine is a rechargeable. Speaking of electricity, it is 220 volts, so do make sure that you have a converter. Target, I bought the multi-converter that has for every country in the world. I think it was $9.99. Radio Shack also sells them. So should be pretty easy to find a converter. I wish I had brought mine with me because I would have loaned it to someone. Some of the hotels do have some outlets that are already converted, but for the most part, I would plan on bringing a converter. I did take my cell phone with me. So here was my naivete of traveling into a different country. I thought I would be able to keep everybody updated on Facebook.
Facebook is blocked.
Correct. Facebook is blocked. So wipe that out. Social media is blocked. So my means of communication with my family was I would text my husband and he would text everyone else to let them know what was going on. I have Verizon. I had the option to do the international plan for a month, or they would allow international calling and texting at a pay-per-use. And because I knew I wasn't going to be using it too much and I was only there for 10 days, it actually made better financial sense for me just to pay as I went. So I check with your carrier to see which is best and most feasibly or fiscally feasible for you. But I would recommend that, and know that text messaging is probably your best. Even trying to call was challenging sometimes, but texting seemed to be okay. There was a bit of a delay, of course. I could receive text, I think, through Verizon for under 5 cents or 5 cents a text. So it was pretty inexpensive. I think sending them was like 10 or 15 cents a text.
Wi-Fi hard to find here.
Each hotel does have Wi-Fi. It is not as fast, but mind you, I was working on a second master's at the time, so I still had homework to do. And I was able to, and I was in an online program, and I was able to do all my homework and get my stuff turned in. It was free Wi-Fi in the hotels. Mm-hmm.
In the room too?
Yes.
So
Have
get
any
quick.
time because you were studying.
I rarely sleep. I'm the type of person that's always on the go.
iPad, so it would
Yes.
be easier to take an iPad?
Yeah. If you don't have significant amount of work to do, an iPad is a really great option. We actually had some people take their iPads and use those as their cameras too. I just can't get used to using my iPad as a camera. But I used my iPhone as well as my other camera for taking photos, and really found like those were sufficient. But the iPad is a really good option for reading, so that way if you don't want to carry a bunch of books with you and you just movies.
Download
On the flight to Beijing and on the flight back, you're flying on Air China. I always have to remind myself who you're flying on, because on the airline ticket it says CA, so you think you're flying China Air, but you're actually flying Air China. And Air China, the seat in front of you, they've upgraded all their planes, so everybody will have their own individual TV screen with options for TV shows and movies. Some are English, some are Chinese, so it's kind of hit or miss there. Again, I just highly recommend sleeping as much as you can.
I noticed that we didn't get assigned seats.
No, you do not get assigned seats on the plane. You will get, I would highly recommend for the airline, call now. As soon as you get your airline ticket, call and request an aisle or a window seat, whatever you prefer, and see if they can get you on one as soon as possible. And if you're flying with a spouse or a companion, make sure that all of your tickets are next to each other. I sat by myself the whole time. Even though I was flying with different folks from the University of Texas, we were spread out throughout the whole plane.
So you have to call to get a seat assigned?
I would call Air China and make sure that you get.
Everybody should have gotten your
Tickets.
tickets. your
Yeah,
meal
we
tickets.
got the tickets, but there's no seat assigned.
I called this weekend and they got us
Did you?
the seats we wanted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's important.
Yes,
Oh
my
my
husband needs an aisle because of his knee, so I need to go to it.
Yes. Yeah, I injured myself in Zumba 2 weeks before, and I was on crutches with a torn calf muscle. And so I begged my orthopedic, is there any way I can go to China without crutches? And he was like, you have to completely stay off your leg. He's like, I can't guarantee it's going to be fun, and the plane ride is just going to stink terrible. And it did on the way out there. But I had to get up and move about often and walk around. And granted, I mean, you're on the flight for 12 hours. The airline bathrooms are not bad, so it's not a horrible thing. I would actually get up, and you will find that many people will. I actually got up and did some like yoga stretches in the middle of the hallway and stuff like that, and would just stand for a while and stretch my legs and my arms. It's very helpful because it is a very long flight.
Yeah.
So that I do recommend. One of the other things about traveling is making sure, and I see the white envelope there, making sure you have your silk banner, and I can explain to you what those are and what to do with those. So with the silk banner, when you go to the university, they have a silk banner competition. They will actually ask for these the first day you check in at your hotel in Beijing. They will already collect these. The theme for this year, let's see, is East meets West. So however you interpret that, whatever your creative genius is. If you are not that creative, that's okay.
Turn it away.
So each person gets a piece of silk, and you decorate it however you choose.
Big.
So I took some fabric, and last year was world knowledge and experience, and I can show you a photo, but I took some brown fabric and made a book, and I had the world coming out of it and so forth, and just kind of decorate it. I can show you what Madison, one of our students that went with us, she actually won the student competition. The Americans compete against the Chinese students because you would never want to go up against a Chinese student with their silk banners. They're amazing. But they typically give some really nice prizes too. I heard one year they gave out iPads or mini nanos and so forth and so on. This year, bless Madison's heart, they gave her a lovely, lovely ship. and it was this hand-carved ship. It's like this big. It had its own case and everything.
How'd you get that back?
That was the problem. So the ship is supposed to be this Chinese symbol of good fortune, and we said it was the worst luck she could have ever had because she had to pay extra shipping for it. She had to bring it back. We tried to send it in the mail. It was this nightmare. She had to carry it all around, but now her mother proudly displays it on their mantle at home and absolutely loves it. So, but it was the joke of our whole trip was, oh my gosh, now she's got to carry this monster ship everywhere we go. So that was very interesting.
I hope Lynn wins the ship.
I'll let you, if I win, I'll give it to you.
Glenn,
Depends
don't
on
worry.
what you do for my banner. I'm assigning it to you, Eric.
You know, and if I would have wanted to, I would have asked them to send it.
Yeah.
I would have asked them, can you please send this?
Right.
You know.
We kept being told, oh, next hotel we go to, they'll be able to send it to you. Next hotel you go to, they'll be able to, and it was just that the whole time.
Legends of China.
Yeah, it was very, very challenging. Let's see. Oh, one of the things I do want to caution you on, because you travel as a group. So do you know if your bus assignment is, you guys are B2? Okay. So it says here at the top you're on B2.
Yeah.
So you will travel with the same group of probably anywhere from 30 to 50 people on the same bus every single day. Notoriously, every year I hear, there are those two stragglers who everyone is always waiting on and is always causing a delay. Try not to be those stragglers because the rest of us do not like those stragglers. I'm just going to caution you on that now. We had the same two women who were late every single day, and everybody is like, oh my gosh, we're waiting on them again. And we'd get out to like just use the restroom really quick, and we'd be waiting on them. And we'd get out to do something, and we would be waiting on them.
Sounds like it's someone need to have discussion with them.
So
Is our group going to be together?
your group, likely, if you are all on B2, then yes, you're all in the same bus, same group, everything. You will have some other schools with you,
Yeah,
of
yeah,
course.
probably.
But just know that you know, you will all be traveling together, which is really nice.
I have a question.
yes.
If you don't mind, snacks. People are saying that the food and we should take snacks. What do you think about that?
So the question about snacks, if there's something in particular that you really like, do bring that along because, you know, let's say there's a candy bar or favorite treat that in 10 days you might crave. You are eating traditional Chinese meals for lunch and dinner every single day. I loved it. I did not complain one bit. I absolutely adored it. I could have stayed longer. I cook with bok choy all the time because it has become part of my diet. But we had people on our trip by day 3 who were like, I'm tired of the Chinese food. And I was like, really? You came to China? What's wrong with you? So just know you're going to have...
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
yeah, and there are some fast food places, and I saw some people going to McDonald's, and I thought, oh my gosh, why? But you'll go to, if there are dietary needs, do let your tour guide know. So if you're a vegetarian, they will accommodate that. You know, if there are certain needs, just let them know, and they will take care of you. That's not a problem. We had multiple vegetarians on our trip.
Should I let them know ahead of time? Email them?
Yeah, I would email them. Yeah, I would email them ahead of time. I always opt for a vegetarian meal on the airplane anyway, and so I did that initially, and so they had assumed, and I used to be vegetarian, so they assumed I was vegetarian, so I ate a lot of the vegetarian stuff along the way. But
I read somewhere that salads are not a good thing to eat over there.
you typically won't even be offered a salad. Honestly, that's not. Yeah, I mean, because when you think about it, the microorganisms that are on the vegetables, the water that they use to wash those off, again, those are really big challenges. So that was something I did crave, was I missed salad. And that tends to be something that I do miss if I'm going to other places that I can't always get a salad. Some things, what did I crave?
What about ice? Is it
Ice.
safe?
You know, most of the water you're going to get over there is going to be hot. They tend to, when you get water at tables, bring your bottled water in with you if you want something cool. Legends of China will pay for your lunch, dinner, your breakfast is typically in your hotel, so that's all covered. At your table, you will be offered water or green tea. Tea is everywhere.
Is it safe?
Yes, because the water is boiled. And that's why the water at your table tends to be hot too, is because they boil it first. And that's all I drank. There were people who wanted to have a beer or a drink or something, or a special soda or something at the table, and they just paid for that separately on their own through their wait staff.
Okay. The reason what I was saying, because ice sometimes is not.
Right.
Right.
and
Yeah.
we put-
We'll be allowing students who are of legal age in the U.S. to have a beverage with their meal. We'll be limiting.
I think
that.
we have to
We
know
haven't discussed
who
that.
is going. We can discuss that. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, if, we'll have to see that.
Yeah.
We'll see who is going. I don't think that may be a problem. I think they may be all older. Are you 21 or less? Oh, okay, then you're fine.
Yeah, I think everybody-
I think everybody's
everyone that's
over,
going is over 21.
Yeah, over 21. That's what I would think is not a problem.
They don't have a drinking age here.
Yeah, so if they're
Ti-
traveling with.
I
No,
w-
I'm just saying, they don't have a
Yeah,
drinking age.
typically, at least the last 4 universities I've worked for, typically what we do is we institute the same institutional rules
Exactly.
with our students traveling abroad that we do here in the
At the
United
university.
States. It's just a safer place to play.
Because we're
Um,
representing the university, although we're not
right.
receiving any funding for.
Right.
For Legends of China at Texas State.
Yeah.
Just wanted to know.
So out of curiosity,
Yes.
when we are meeting your Chinese counterparts and they've got these organized events, and
Yes.
that's when you're doing that student affairs
Yes,
dinner possibly, Erin?
at the university.
I'm not
Mhm.
Do we have the ability to reach out to counterparts at Beijing Forestry University? to see if we
My
can set up events with them?
understanding this year is when you are meeting with the university, and this was different than last year, you are actually getting the choice to choose between who your
Yeah, so-
counterparts are.
Yeah, so when you did your application, they took what you put on your application as your profession, so university administration. I don't know if you put campus
I don't know what I put.
rec on there or not.
You could email Legends of China, the office out in California, and just contact them and solidify with them kind of whom you're meeting with for that outreach session.
Yeah, and from what I understand, there's it's kind of like a symposium conference type of thing where a lot of the different groups will be in one large area. So it's not like everyone's
Right.
gonna go to the conference room and we're gonna sit down and talk about it.
How did it
It's
work?
kinda-
So last year, how it worked is we all came into one big auditorium, and they did some introductions. Some of their students did some performances for us, and it was great. We all smiled and chuckled because one of their student performance groups did a hip hop dance to an old like 80s rap song that only the administrators knew, because all of our students were like, "What is this music?" And we were like, "Wow, this is really old school. This is kind of fun." So it was fantastic. So we did that. I actually went with the university administrator group, and we did a tour of campus, and we had a dinner with them. Our counterparts who were also in the group with us, they were split up into smaller groups and did some roundtable sessions about what it's like to be at a university in China and what are some challenges. And they actually asked a couple of our students to sit on some panels to talk about what it was they were studying and what it was like to study in the United States. So there was a lot of learning there about how the universities operate and so forth. This year, my understanding is they were actually doing it subject specific. So it may look a little bit different. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to tailor
Now,
that.
That's not the one that Aaron and I are going
No.
later. That's a separate
No,
one.
yeah, that's
Okay.
my understanding.
Okay.
So we do have some participants that are going that are not interested in some of that. So from what I understand, they're encouraging all of us to go to like the different symposiums,
Mhm.
but then there'll also be some option on whether that is free time or not for you.
Okay.
So yeah, so you'll have the opportunity. to
When
do
is the day of the symposium? Is that July 12th?
different?
That's the time block
When
for
is
Meet
the-
Your Chinese Counterparts, 3:30 to 7. But it also looks like it's got the Silk Banner exhibition. and the banner award ceremony is.
So I think that's the day that we will all come together then, because
Yeah.
the day of the banner, that's the day.
The day that we do
Yes.
the day that we do the silk banner stuff, yeah,
Is July 12th.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And then in the evening is the one that he and I are going.
Okay. The,
July 12th, everyone needs to go to that, is that what you said?
Yeah, that's like the big ceremony where, that's when
Everyone gets
that's
together.
going on Legends of China, like trip A, B, C, and D.
all the trips are going to be there at once.
And I'll tell you something, I think it's very interesting for our students that are going, and even for us, because my understanding is that there will be opportunities to see work in China, go and work in China.
Mhm.
Right.
Opportunities for teach or
Mhm.
whatever in China, so it's interesting. I would like to do that. I mean, some people retire and then they go and do that for a couple of years. Like,
Absolutely.
actually, our friend, Kurt, is doing that in Qatar. That's what he did.
That's
So it
awesome.
would be interesting to see if there's something that, if you want to explore that personally, I don't know, I will be.
Yeah, I think that they definitely encourage an outreach to folks to teach or work in China or explore or have that opportunity. So it's really interesting. I was looking through your itinerary just now, and it does look like you're staying in a nicer and newer hotel than I stayed in. So, in Beijing. The Temple of Heaven is on the first day, and this is a lovely temple. This is going to be, you'll park in a parking lot, you'll walk up a long walkway, and then the Temple of Heaven, I believe it was, and they'll tell you this, but I believe it was Eisenhower was the first U.S. president to visit China in a very long time when there was that hold. And this was the first place that he had asked to always come to, was the Temple of Heaven. It's very lovely. And there's a special process for which, if you choose to make a wish or an offering and want to ask for good wishes, you walk around the temple in a specific direction, and so forth. So they'll explain all that to you. You'll go to the tea house. They'll teach you how to drink tea properly, and it depends on what type of tea that they're offering you. And so you'll probably try about 4 or 5 different types of tea. The tea is absolutely wonderful. Again, I now find myself going up to Chinatown in off of Lamar in Austin, and specifically buying certain teas. So that was a really nice experience. The Peking duck dinner, oh my goodness, delicious, absolutely amazing. Sorry for vegetarians.
It's not going to be looking at you, is it?
You will see them cooking it, but this is typically, and I can pass my laptop around, but this is typically what dinner's going to look like. So you get one table. It would be a table similar to this, but a little more round, and you would have about 10 different dishes on the table, and you just share family style. That's how every meal is. And you can request some more of a particular item or something like that. But that's how your meal will be. Those of you who have opted for the acrobatic show will go to that. Those of you who have not will have free time, and there is a shopping area that they let us walk around while everyone was at the acrobatic show. So that's what we did.
The one question I have about a lot of the free time and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
As far as what we were talking about with passports and things,
Right.
are we set on like a curfew with?
So with the free time and the passport issue, they're going to let you know kind of where your parameters. So like, you can shop in this district, and you're absolutely okay to do so. Again, your bus driver, your tour guide's going to be around to facilitate some of that. So they're going to give you the parameters and so forth. Once you get into your hotel in the evening, again, like I said, that one night we went to explore the Walmart, so we walked down on our own, but I don't think anybody stayed out terribly late or anything like that. And again, carry your copy of your passport. That's why it's important to have a copy of it, because then at least, and you'll always have your name tag with you. Even if you're not wearing it in the evening when you're out on your own, keep that on you. Because again, this is a program that's connected with their government that lets them know who you are and what program you're part of. This day 2, let's let's see, you're going to go to the Jade Museum, and they will show you how they make jade. It is a very intricate process. I did not understand that jade is never cut or melted together or pieced together. True jade pieces are always one piece of stone, and they cut it very intricately into whatever they're designing. So it's a really amazing process to see. You'll have the opportunity, of course, to buy jade. Then you'll go off to the Great Wall. It is wonderful. We were taken to a section where there's a 2-mile loop, and with the amount of time we had, if you basically briskly walked it or jogged it, you could make the whole 2-mile loop in the time that we had. We had one student that did it. He came back drenched in sweat, but he was so proud of himself that he made the whole loop. It was really amazing. Some great places to photograph, and they have some trinkets for sale there, so if you want to bring stuff back as gifts from the Great Wall.
Is it crowded?
It's not overly crowded. The thing to know about the Great Wall is when it was designed and built, it was hand built. So you may have a step that is this deep, and then your next step up is this deep, and your next step up is this deep, and then it's this deep, and it's very awkward. So watch your footing. Coming down can even be a bit more challenged because depth-wise, I found it hard to tell if it was a steep step down. So I did find myself holding on.
Or sitting down,
yes.
like the pyramid like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Do you know which area we're going to? I know there are different entrances.
I don't. The area we went to last year was different than the group the year before, and I only knew that because there was a couple on our trip last year who did the exact same trip the year prior, but this past year, they had brought their son with them. So they were able to tell us what some of the differences were, but I'm not certain which section you'll be going to of the Great Wall. After that, you'll be going to Tiananmen Square in the Forbidden City. This is a long day of walking. I'm going to tell you that right now. The Great Wall is a long hike. It will be exhausting, and then you'll be on a bus for a little bit, and then you're going to be walking Tiananmen Square in the Forbidden City. That is a long walk, so do rest up. Yeah, please take that time. Again, that evening is the Beijing Opera or some free time. The next day, the Chinese educational system, that's the July 12th. Let's see. So you're going to go to the Health Science Symposium or free time.
What is that? Is that a new one?
That's new. The traditional Chinese herbal medicine pharmacy that day at 11:30, we did go to that, and that was fantastic. We really enjoyed that. It was great because I'm a huge advocate of Eastern medicine, and I go to acupuncture quite frequently. And so they had a bunch of pharmacists come down after they presented about Chinese medicine. They had some pharmacists come down and do free health evaluations on everyone. And then you could opt to buy their herbs if you wanted to or not. It was totally up to you. And so a couple of the people who were Westerners who had never touched Eastern medicine were kind of like, I'm not too sure about that. And only the people on our trip and a select few knew that I had injured myself, because I have removed myself from crutches before going to China, because China is not handicap accessible or friendly, trust me. So only a few people knew I had injured myself going. And so the pharmacist came over and he felt my pulse and he looked at my tongue and he said, "You hurt your leg, didn't you?" And everybody around me went, "Wait a second." And I was like, "Yes, I did. And where are the herbs for that?" Because I didn't have time to go to acupuncture before I left, and I knew I was going to China. I was like, I'm going to get the good stuff. So you do have the option to buy herbs there if you want to, and so forth and so on. Again, all these places you go to, they are going to try and sell you something. You're at a government-owned shop. They're going to try and sell you. You do not have any obligation to buy. On this trip, you can truly go and not spend a red cent if you don't want to. What you spend is truly based off of what you want to spend. But all your meals are covered, your travel is covered, everything is taken care of. So you should not have to spend any money. It's only if you choose to buy things.
So this is going to be my question.
Yes.
What, as far as that goes, what things do we need to stay away from as far as buying and coming back into the United States?
I actually was able to bring, because the question about,
We're
what.
just talking about herbs.
Right, right. What can you bring back? I actually was able to bring my herbs back. The pharmacy was able to give us a certificate of authenticity for what we were traveling with, and to present to customs. And so I was able to present that to customs to say I am traveling back with pearls, I am traveling back with jade, and I'm traveling back with some herbs and some tea. And they were, and that was the nice thing again. I'm shopping at a government store. They were able to give me all these certificates, so I had no problem getting through customs. So none of that was questioned at all. But that is a good question because again, coming back with the herbs especially. Let's see. Again, the evening stuff on the 12th, that is a little bit different, although it is somewhat similar. That's a little bit different. The Beijing night tour. So you're going to the Olympic Boulevard, kind of driving by in the evening, which is interesting. We went to the Olympic Village during the day, which it sounds like y'all will the following day. Let's see. The 13th, you're going to Olympic Village. 15th, you're off to Shanghai. And then you're taking the bus to Suzhou. The garden there is really beautiful that you'll visit. And again, oh, that's going to be in Shanghai, probably on the last night, the Bund. My favorite part, absolutely. Let's see. Oh, I did do the Summer Palace tour, I'm sorry, on the 14th. I did that one as well.
I think you did.
We did go to the silk factory, and that's a really interesting process. They'll have some of the silkworms out so you can actually touch them, and you'll watch the process. You'll watch the silk being spun. You'll watch some of the silk being made. Again, have the opportunity to buy some silk if you want to. Hangzhou, you'll go, like I mentioned, on West Lake. Very beautiful. That's on the 17th. And then you head back to Shanghai after that, which we did the same thing. And you'll end up at the Bund. And again, that's the river cruise. Absolutely beautiful. So at the Bund, you'll have the old world architecture. So one section was when the British colonials and the United States ran part of that section. And so it's very European architecture, some really interesting buildings. And literally you look at the river and then across the way, and it is lights and skyscrapers and just modern and beautiful. So you have this real stark contrast. So it's a beautiful night tour. The lights are really nice. Yes. So that's in the evening on the 17th for y'all.
A question. I think I bought a lot of tours already, but in case I haven't and I decide to add a new one, I can ask there.
Yes, you can add anything while you're there. So if there's something you hear about an event, you can certainly add that.
And do you have a list, Aaron, of what we signed up for? Because I didn't.
I can look at it. I can look at your old application.
That would be wonderful.
When we sign our application, that's
Mhm.
good.
Because I
Me
didn't
too.
keep a copy of that.
I think you guys signed up for that river tour, actually. So
So I'll show you real briefly, and it's hard to see, but I can pass this around. So this was my silk. So there again, I did the book, and this was all fabric, and I just kind of used that press and seal, easy get by, non-sewing option, although I have a sewing machine. So I did that. This was a sample of one of our dinners and one of our meals and what that looked like. This is at Tiananmen Square. And I put this picture in because you can kind of see how smoggy it is there, just to give you an idea. It looked like it was kind of a cloudy day, but that's just the pollution. That's a typical sunny day in China. But just so you all can see, that's kind of the haze that you might experience. And then this is the Olympic Village. This is the section of the Great Wall we went on. This is Madison. She's our student that won the Silk Banner competition, so y'all will be there. And then this is some of the black and white photography I did that I mentioned. So let me pass that around so folks can kind of see.
Can you walk around by yourself on these tours, or is it like a group tour, like everybody stays together, you go to the gardens?
No, they typically say, some of them we stick together, and then some of them they say we're going to meet back here at X time. So it depends on which one. But I stuck with our tour guide a lot because she was just full of information and knowledge, and so I wanted to hear, I wanted to learn more about the culture and the history, and so I stayed with pretty close by to her just so I could see some of that.
When you're out and about, they speak English?
A little bit. I would know a few words just to know what's going on. Again, in some of the shops that you're in, you'll typically find folks who speak English. But if you're going to a convenience store next door, no, they're not going to speak English. But sign language and hand language and pointing works fairly well.
How much?
So, yeah.
How do you make
And
money?
are there
What will be-
ATMs available?
There are ATMs. I think I went with 500 in cash.
I hate to see that at ATM.
Yeah,
I like 500 in cash.
Yeah, I think I went with 500 in cash, and I didn't use it all because I ended up using my credit card. I felt more comfortable just using my credit card than having to figure out conversion, and so, or having to worry about exchanging more money. So I ended up bringing a number of.
And then I also heard that
Bunch of
there's a
money.
lot of counterfeit money, that you can even go in a store and they'll give you change with counterfeit money. You have to kind of.
They mentioned that. Again, I found that I went to most government stores or reputable stores where that wasn't an issue. It's really when you're wheeling and dealing on the side streets that you may end up, and that's why you want to exchange to yuan and try and get some lower bills. So if you are going to wheel and deal with somebody on the side of the street, you're giving them exactly what they're asking for. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Let me see.
Bags?
Are there any safety concerns?
Safety concerns, I did not have any. I felt fairly safe walking through the city. Again, you will notice there's a lot of video cameras around and so forth and so on, and I just did not feel unsafe in any of the places we were taken to.
Bags, and I'm glad, the luggage. Do you remember, we'll call the airline, because I would like people to know, do they allow us 2 bags for free?
We get two.
You get
And a
two.
carry-on.
You get 2 pieces of baggage plus a carry-on. And again, I don't even know that you're going to need that much if you pack wisely. If you're just taking a few pairs of
The only
shorts or
the only time it might be an issue is getting from Austin
Here
to
to
LA.
LA, yeah.
right,
So
right.
whichever-
You may
whatever
have to.
your all flights booked or.
But what you can do is you can fold something, like another piece of, in case you
Yes.
bring an extra.
Yeah, yeah. So if
in your
so,
luggage, in case you need it.
and that's a great idea is to maybe pack 1 piece of luggage to take with you initially, plus your carry-on. But inside that piece of luggage, put like maybe a duffel bag.
Yeah.
So that duffel bag can be used for dirty laundry or whatever have you, and then you can use your suitcase for souvenirs to bring home or so forth. So that's not a bad idea. So
The ship when you win it.
that's right.
Ship.
For your ship or anything else that you bring
I
home.
really want to see you getting on the airplane with this big ship under
And don't ask Jane to carry it.
And I do know that for medical insurance, we have an insurance that is the international one.
Yeah,
that one we see
ISOS,
always-
yeah.
always
The
use.
and there's some different. Legends of China should have sent you all an email that had their insurance policy with it. Because of the flooding and stuff that they had last year,
Oh, okay.
they've added an additional policy that everyone has just by going on the trip.
Okay.
It does cover if our flight is canceled, like when we go to Shanghai. If our flight is canceled, then the insurance covers what it would cost for us to stay an extra night in Beijing and those types of things. The way that it works, though, is that we are responsible while we're there for paying for it, and then we are reimbursed
Yeah.
once we submit those receipts for it.
Yeah.
So it was recommended to me that I pass on to you all that take a little bit of, either take a credit card or extra cash, just in case something like that happened. You know, if we have to stay in a hotel in Beijing an extra night, it could be, you know, a couple $100, you know, but you do get reimbursed to it. I think it's up to like $1,500
Yeah.
for each individual incident.
So if the airline is at fault, we still pay for it?
Yes and no.
Yeah, because I thought that was more for medical
Right.
emergencies
So,
or,
well, see, this is a totally different policy than what
Yeah.
the 360 plan is. This is a different
yeah.
policy. that
Yeah,
they
that's
have.
what we are thinking about buying, maybe.
Yeah, so, we are covered, while we are on the trip,
Okay.
as far as the
Yeah.
medical stuff
Mhm.
goes. The way that it has been explained to me is that once we get to the airport and the bus drops us off, the Legends of China people will stay there until our flight, either
Mhm.
we board our plane or
Absolutely.
we find
Yep.
out what's going on. But once we go into the airport through security, they really have no contact with us except through telephone communication.
And they typically will designate one person from your bus
Right.
to be that emergency point of contact for your bus and your group.
Right.
So once you are past that security, there is one person designated. They will stay in touch with your tour guide should something happen. They need to be called back. Legends of China will bring a bus back and come back and pick you up. I only know that because being the Associate Director of Student Emergency Services, I got nominated as the bus coordinator and caretaker for the group.
So what Dr. Ariano and I talked about was myself, Dr. Ariano, and then Glenn is going to help while we're there, and we'll be kind of facilitating the group. So it's not all really one person. I would say that everything will probably go smoothly, but just in case we do have that policy, in case
Yeah.
something does happen.
I'm glad to hear that they put some
Yeah.
systems into place based on the weather last year. I did hear that the group that was had included Hong Kong actually ended up having to come back on the same flight with
Yeah,
us
they
because
came
that
back
typhoon was,
in Hong- yeah.
yeah, because it was coming back early. So they ended up missing that section of their trip, and I felt really bad for them. So I'm glad that they're doing some reimbursement and some adjustment for that.
Yeah, so-
And they are very accommodating. Legends of China wants you to have a good trip. They do not want this to be a negative experience. They want universities to continue this program. So they're going to continue to make sure that they improve upon and help you out in whatever ways possible.
I think the big thing was and the reason they added it was last year, they had some participants that were on the trip that were pretty angry that they didn't get to go on
Yeah.
that portion of the trip, and they wanted Legends of China to actually pay for and reimburse for
Mhm.
the fact that they didn't get to go on that trip. So that's why they've added it, because Legends of China is not going to be the one that reimburses. It's going to be the insurance company
Mhm.
that does it.
Mhm.
So with the amount that we are paying to go,
Mhm.
we're going at a very discounted rate.
Absolutely.
So it's really hard for them to refund that.
Mhm.
So,
but the insurance will.
Yes.
yeah, the insurance will, doesn't, the insurance.
And you'll be giving your own insurance policy number through Legends of China, and you would file any claims directly with them.
Can we remind Legends of China, Aaron, all them, when are we getting our $150 that we're getting discount for the airfare between Austin and Los Angeles? Because this is our first year, they made
Right.
a discount for all of us. So we were trying to leave from Houston, but it didn't work.
Yeah, we've been trying to get more Texas schools involved so that we can eventually get a flight out of Houston and all of us don't have to get trips to LA. So as we get more universities in Texas involved in this, hopefully we'll be able to move in that direction. They actually offered me another discount if I wanted to come back again this year, and it was very tempting. But yeah, I'm glad they're giving the discount for at least the flight out to LA, because I did have to pay for that. I flew on American. That was a really good point about luggage earlier. to LA, and so I ended up having to pay for my baggage to and from LA in addition to my airline flight. But I compared that with Southwest, who gives you free baggage, but what the cost would be on Southwest was still a little bit higher than American Airlines plus the baggage. So you just have to weigh your options on whom you're flying with. And your meals on Air China will be Chinese meals, and so it was rice and some stir-fried vegetables. I did a vegetarian. That's breakfast. That's lunch. That's dinner. So yeah.
Can't change it too much.
No. You will, again, in the hotels, you will have the option. They have kind of buffet breakfast set up, and you'll have an option for some traditional Chinese foods for breakfast, but then also very traditional American breakfasts. So you can choose. I kind of mixed a little bit of both into my breakfasts every day. It's difficult to find because Chinese don't tend to drink coffee. They tend to drink tea more often. But I had coffee every morning with my breakfast.
How?
They provide it. They provide the coffee. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Good. Okay.
And
Well,
also get used to soy milk.
Yes. Soy milk. Yes. Absolutely. Yes.
That's all they drink in the morning.
Yes.
Soy milk.
Yeah. I forget about stuff like that because I drink soy milk and rice milk and whole grain milk, so I don't ever do dairy. But yes. And hard-boiled eggs tend to be pretty big there. And then there is a porridge, and folks weren't too sure, that had some darker chunks in it, and that is fermented egg. That tends to be a traditional kind of porridge breakfast meal, so just be aware of that. I am a very adventurous eater, and so I ate kind of everything that was offered to me. The dinner that I went to at the university was lovely. I mean, they had everything from sushi to some of the most amazing meals. But it also, we had sea cucumber in one of our soups, and that texture and that style was a little difficult for some folks to eat. And it's okay. I ate it because I like to try different things. But
me too.
As long as
Yeah.
it doesn't have eyes and it's
I
not
will.
looking at me. I'll try it.
Put that on.
yeah,
me too.
yeah.
Okay, well.
Any other questions for me?
Did you get your-
Do you feel like I covered everything?
Really accurate and very helpful information.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I see you have, really educational components. in
Yes.
there. When I went, it was just strictly just tour, so I would get to visit more tourist attractions.
Yeah.
But this is a different purpose of
Right.
it, so
Right.
it's pretty good.
Can I say something about the restrooms? Are they Western size restrooms? I mean, Western style, because
Yes.
people that have knee problems
Yes.
cannot do the Eastern.
Yes, and even in some of the public restrooms, you will find that they'll have one Western toilet. It is their handicap toilet.
Oh, okay.
Um,
But
but
there's like a bar
yes.
in a whole lot.
I know.
yeah. I will tell you, if you have not used an Eastern toilet, and this may be a little too personal, but in China there is no such thing as personal space. Squat as low as you possibly can to the floor. That is the best way. It reduces any type of spray, whatever have you. If you just half squat, it doesn't work that well. And it actually hurts your knees less if you squat all the way down as opposed to just trying to hover over top of a bowl in the ground.
Okay.
Did you
Yeah.
get your fly miles when you went?
I did not, yeah. I should have,
I wonder if you do or not. I've been trying to figure it out, but he's skirting around the question.
yeah.
Let me maybe finish here. The only reason is because I don't know if we still are, we're about time memory, okay? So if we can stop right now, but I want to thank you for coming. to
Absolutely,
us
my
and
pleasure,
helping
my
us.
pleasure,
Really,
absolutely.
really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
And this will be shared with those who were not able to make it, if they can listen to everything. Also, there will be some notes.
okay. And any questions that come up prior, please don't hesitate to ask. Dr. Arellano knows how to reach me. You can find me on the UT directory. My last name is Lopez, very easy to spell. And my first name is Krista with a CH. Although my email address is still krista.sandelier@Austin, but the Lopez makes it easier to find. So please don't hesitate to contact me for any questions you might have.
Yeah, Yes, thank you so much.